guys, Adam here, hope everyone's going well. Well, in this video I'm really excited to be able to tell you that recently I scored myself a brand new Leica M rangefinder, and you know what, I absolutely love it. I'm so happy with it, I'm so happy that I bought it. Anyway, let's have a little bit of a chat about the camera. I'll show you a little bit of the unboxing. I know some people like that. We'll go through some of the features of the camera. We'll have a look at the menu too, and we'll have a look at some of the results and tests as well. To summarise what I purchased, it's the Leica M Type 240. I got it with the Leica 50mm f2.4 Summarit lens, as well as the 28mm f2.8 lens. So that gives me a wide angle and a sort of medium tele, which sort of works for me and what I want to do. I'll just set that down there. So, Leica M rangefinders. What's the big difference between them and DSLRs? Well, one of the first things is actually the price. My Leica M setup cost me just over 11,000 Australian dollars. Yikes, that's expensive, I know. How does that compare to a DSLR? Well, yeah, I mean, let's compare it spec for spec. So, metal body, okay, you can get that on a lot of DSLRs. Full frame 24 megapixel sensor. Yeah, you can get that on, you can get more than that on a lot of cheaper DSLRs. No image stabilization in lenses or body with the Leica M system. Okay, you can get that in like a really cheap DSLR now. No autofocus whatsoever, no tracking autofocus, high speed, no form of autofocus whatsoever. Yikes, that doesn't seem like very good value, and isn't that sort of a feature you'd always want? Well, maybe. No sensor cleaning? Well, okay. I'm prepared to learn how to clean. What else do or don't you get? Well, you're looking through a viewfinder as opposed to through the lens in a DSLR. Okay, isn't that the whole advantage of a DSLR, that you're looking through the lens? Sort of. Leica lenses in the M type are what they call fixed focus or primes. So if you want to shoot wide angle, you buy a 28mm wide angle lens, click it on there. If you want to go to medium, you click on a 35 or a 50mm. If you want to go to telephoto, you click on a 75 or a 90. There's no such thing as zooming in or out on a Leica lens like there is with a DSLR. Okay, seems like there's not many features compared to what you get with a DSLR for the price here. So why is a Leica M, you know, like huge amounts of money when compared to a DSLR, which for 50% or even less of the price can offer you a seemingly whole lot more as far as features go? Well, the Leica M is handmade in Germany, as are its lenses. Okay, handmade, but you could argue that DSLRs have got a lot, well, are manufactured to much better tolerances if they're made with robots in Japan by Canon or Sony, whoever. And you could argue that their quality control there could be better. Well, you know, when you unbox a Leica, and let's have a look at a little bit of the unboxing here, you can tell that someone has put serious effort into manufacturing and packaging this up, and indeed, you know, you can actually you actually get little certificates that say that someone has actually tested this product and has inspected it, and they've physically signed the piece of paper that has arrived to you to say that yes, this product is worthy of being sold and worthy of wearing the Leica badge. Okay, so you get that. Still though, you know, some of the features, you know, for the price seem, you know, like, well, I mean, it does seem like it's still overpriced. Well, maybe. For me, the most invaluable feature of the Leica M is because it is a full manual camera, and even when it's on full manual, there's pretty much zero assists in there. The Leica M actually forces you to really think about your photograph and forces you to become a better photographer. That to me is an invaluable feature, and that to me makes up the difference straight away. But on a more practical note, the Leica M lenses are uber sharp. They are just brilliant when compared to anything else. They are the sharpest lenses I've ever used. They also have a certain look to them with a really nice soft bokeh. So if you're doing shallow depth of field stuff, which as a Leica user you would be, you really do get fantastic shallow depth of field looks. Furthermore, just the way that the Leica lenses handle the light just looks fantastic. I've just never seen anything like. You just can't get this sort of thing out of a DSLR. You're looking through the rangefinder viewfinder, which is this thing, as opposed to the lens when you're taking a photo with a Leica rangefinder. Isn't the whole advantage of a DSLR that you're looking directly through the lens so you can see what your lens is seeing? Well, yeah, but the nice thing about the Leica rangefinder viewfinder is that its image, or its field of view, stays the same no matter what magnification lens you put on there. So what you see through the rangefinder is the same as what you would see on a 28mm wide-angle lens, right up to a 75mm or 90mm telephoto. The only thing that actually changes when you put those tighter lenses on there is the frame lines. So if I had, say, a 50mm lens on there, I might get frame lines here, but if I put a 75mm on, I might get frame lines here. Now, the advantage of that is you can see what is in and outside of your frame, and you can adjust very quickly and easily, whereas a DSLR blacks out everything other than what the lens sees. That's a real advantage. Now, just sticking inside the viewfinder for a bit, the other thing that you see inside the viewfinder is the focusing patch. Now, that is your one and only method to, well, for the viewfinder, it's your one and only method to make sure you're in or out of focus. What actually happens is, if you're out of focus, you'll see a ghost image of your photograph over the rest of your picture. So you know that your image is out of focus. When it comes into focus, the ghost image moves over your picture. And you focus just by moving this little knob underneath any of the Leica lenses. It's really easy, really quick to do. And you know what? I'm actually finding I can focus faster manually like this than I ever could with a high-speed focusing USM lens with AF and all the rest of it. And because I'm learning how to be a better photographer because of the Leica system, I can just set my focus without even having to put it up to my eye, and I know pretty much what's going to be in and out of focus in the frame straight away, because the Leica is giving me some fantastic experience, and that's a real advantage for me. On the lens itself, there is a scale available on all of the Leica lenses. Say for argument's sake, if we set this to 2 meters. Okay, so the lens is now set to be in focus on whatever is 2 meters away. Anything that's closer than 2 meters will be out of focus, whatever's further away than 2 meters will be out of focus. That is assuming that I leave the lens set on f2.4. If, for example, I was to set it all the way up to f16, whatever's from 1.5 meters up to about 3.5, 4 meters is going to be in focus. Okay, and whatever's outside of those is going to be out of focus. That's the way depth of field with the aperture works, and that's the way that the guide on the Leica lenses helps you. That's really easy. You just don't see that on modern DSLRs anymore. But it helps you think. And I think that's brilliant. I love it. And it really does help you compose your image. Now, when you're exposing, obviously first of all you would set your focus and you'd set your aperture so you know what your depth of field is going to look like. Then you would select your shutter speed. you can go for auto shutter speed, but you might want to go for a certain look, like you might want to achieve blurred motion, or you might want to freeze some water droplets or something like that. So you would have to adjust your shutter speed and ISO, the camera's sensitivity to light, accordingly. And that's all just done with the little ring up the top. Okay, let's have a look through the menu on the Leica M. So, first of all, we'll flick on. Now you've got things like your live view, your play, that's pretty straightforward. First thing I'll point out, you've always got this info button, and that brings up a screen that looks like this. I'll just tweak the focus a little bit so you can see it a little better. There we go. Okay, so on here, the camera's telling you what ISO you set up, what shutter speed you set up, your battery, and your SD card capacity. It does give you a very basic DSLR-like light meter down the bottom, and you can use that to tell if you're underexposing or overexposing, depending on what shutter speed you've got this set at. Alternatively, if you actually set it to automatic shutter, it'll just tell you what shutter speed it's going to use. Okay, let's just go back to the regular menu. Okay, let's have a look at the regular menu. So lens detection, it's nice because the camera actually has a little barcode scanner that reads a, well, Leica calls it a 6-bit coding system painted on the back of their lenses, so that the camera can identify what lens you've got, and the camera will then apply any lens corrections that Leica's engineers deem necessary in there for you. Self-timer, pretty explanatory. Light metering mode. Currently I've got mine set to classic, that's the standard Leica system. You can go into advanced mode where the camera actually uses a bit of a combination of the live view system to get more of an evaluative DSLR-like light metering system, but I quite like the classic system because it seems to work better with the way that Leica lenses handle the light, and you get a nicer image out of it, I reckon. Bracketing and flash sync, well, we all know bracketing and flash sync is available in there. Okay, sharpness, saturation and contrast, yeah, you know, I mean, it's pretty basic. You don't actually have any scales or anything in there to change that around too much. I tend to leave it on standard. Film mode. I'll have a bit more of a chat about that because one of the things I really love about the Leica system is how you can actually tell it to match vivid, smooth, or black and white film. You know what? I mean, in my past video about Adobe RGB versus sRGB, here's the link for it, by the way. I've stipulated, hey, I like to shoot on Adobe RGB, and I like to have my contrast and my saturation low, and I don't like, well, and so I've got a lot of room to move in post. But I don't know if it's just me, or maybe it's just that the Leica, or maybe it's just that the film looks that the Leica M tries to give you sort of match what I try to achieve in post, but I really like the results that I'm getting out of it. So, for example, I mean, here's some low light photos which I took with the camera in smooth color film mode, and also this one in black and white. Yeah, I just really like that look, and had I shot raw on a DSLR with all of the levels shot wide open, this is actually what I would have wanted to try and achieve anyway, so I'm happy. DNG, or digital negative compression, that's whether you want your raw files to be compressed or not. DNG, digital negative, is the raw file that's used in here. The compression used is more of a zip style compression. It's not a compression that'll affect your image quality. I actually leave it off because the camera's a bit faster and more responsive that way. Monitor brightness, well, that's easy. EVF, well, the electronic viewfinder is, you can have another viewfinder here with a little mini LCD screen if you want it. Frame line colours, you can actually choose between white or red. Focus aids in live view, yeah, they're okay. I'm more of a fan of just using the focusing patch though. Copyright information is very useful, you can apply your own metadata into that. The auto horizon, or yeah, your horizon to tell if you're level or not, is useful. Sensor cleaning, well, there's no sensor cleaning built into the camera. All that sensor cleaning mode will do is open up the shutter so you can squirt some air in there, or do a wet clean if you're game enough. Maybe, if ever I get any dust issues in this camera, I might just do a wet clean video, but so far I haven't actually had any dust issues, and I've swapped the lenses so much and I've taken about 1500 frames, so you know, I'm thinking maybe the whole mirrorless thing is probably quite good, or maybe just the Leica is good at not attracting dust, I don't know. Date and time, all of that, that's pretty self-explanatory. Anyway, what I want to show you, because this is a feature I really like, I'm just going to go down to user profile modes in the set menu. Notice I selected the set menu there. I'm just going to select default profile. Default will turn your camera into as it was when it came out the box. For the most part, I mean, a lot of settings won't get shifted. You have to go through the menu reset for that, but default will just straight away give you automatic ISO, auto white balance, JPEG images, and you can change any of that if you want. No problems. You can just go through and shift any of that, but that'll just default it. What you can do with the user profiles is punch in all of your favorite settings, because it does take a while to get all of your settings right, and you can then save them to a user profile. So if I select user 1, I've got my favorite ISO 200 selected, auto white balance, and DNG or RAW mode selected. Now I can go through and change that if I want, change my ISO, then the user profile will blank out. I can also go into the regular menu, and if we just go back up to the top here, I can change my film mode to, say, vivid. I can snap away now in vivid mode, which is cool. Now let's just go back to the settings. User profile default. That'll now go back to automatic, and my film mode will now be off. One of the things that user profiles lock down is the color space. So normally I leave this on sRGB because I quite like the look that I'm getting out the camera. I don't have to do much post-production. If you do want to do a lot of post-production, obviously you'd be better off going with Adobe RGB. Let's just go back into the set and I'll show you what my second user profile is like. User profile number 2. It's actually the same as profile number 1, but I punched in Adobe RGB in there. Okay. Now let's just go. Oopsies. All right. Now let's just go into the set menu and select user number 3. Suddenly now it's on 800 ISO, and I've got that in black and white film mode. Cool. So what I know I'm doing here is that, whoopsie, maybe I don't know what. So what I got here, I've got user profile number 1 for my everyday color stuff, and I can just set that, use it, and have fun. And that's what I'm using 99% of the time. If I know I want to use a nice high ISO black and white stuff, I select user 3. User 2 I just use for experimenting with Adobe RGB. I haven't actually done a lot with that yet. I'm just using user profile 1, and I'm having a great time. What I tend to do is turn on the smooth color film mode, because if I get my exposure right, and all things being equal, the smooth color film mode seems to be what I like to get out of my post-production anyway if I was using a DSLR. So yeah, I'm really happy with the film modes in here. So in conclusion, $11,000 Leica package versus a DSLR at half the price for the same or more features? Well, I would be answering that question in two ways. Well, I'll say the decision I've made is that for my professional stuff, the stuff that I'm getting paid for, and where I need to fully rely on the camera, and I might not have much time to take the shot. So, for example, with my Canon DSLR, I can aim the camera, set my focus very quickly. You know, it goes beep beep, and I get my focus right. I know where my exposure is going to be because I've got the little needle in the viewfinder telling me if I'm over, spot on, or under. And I can check that with the highlights afterwards as well. I've got loads of control with all of my I've got loads of control in post because I can record a nice flat image and adjust it later on. For the stuff I'm getting paid for, I'm going to stick with a traditional DSLR, partly because I know it, but also because it's got a lot of assists in there, and you know that it's going to help you get it right because it's almost like a checklist system. It's just going to go bang, 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 all green, take the shot, there you go, there's your image, process it, get it to print, get it on a website, straight away, same day, no problems. That's why I'm going to stick with the DSLR for pro work. But for my own artistic photography, which might not necessarily be paid for, but for my own artistic stuff, such as street photography, some landscapes, still life, stuff where I've got all the time in the world to actually set it up, you know, I want to enjoy what I'm doing as opposed to just ticking off a few boxes. I'm going to choose the Leica. And the reason for that is, whereas a DSLR, as I say, is very much like a point me, shoot me, all's green, take the shot, we've got it, let's run away and be happy. The Leica, it's almost like the Leica wants to be your friend, in the sense that the Leica is saying, let's work together to achieve the image you want. Okay, let's get that in focus, let's check what we want to have as far as depth of field goes. Let's look at the exposure. Do we want to be high key or low key? Let's tweak some of these film styles to get a certain look. That to me is the full-on advantage of the Leica system. You get the Leica works with you to create a wonderful artistic image, and the Leica gives you a lot of other features that let you explore a whole load more avenues in your artistic photography. And so for street photography, some landscape stuff, low light work, which is a bit of a favourite of mine. Yeah, the Leica's proving to be a great choice and is better than a DSLR. One other point I made about the M Type 240, I have given it a bit of a try for video. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, no image stabilization, sound isn't great, and there's a bit of a jello-y look there. I'm not a fan of the video on the M Type 240. It's probably the only negative of the camera for me. The rest of it, I think it's great.